Turning now to the economy and stubborn inflation. The latest government numbers show inflation is still climbing, although not as fast as the last few years. The consumer price index rose at 3.1% for the past year, a higher jump than anticipated, which likely means no cuts yet in high interest rates as the Fed hopes to bring down inflation to a 2% target before taking action. Food prices are still rising and are up more than 25% since 2020, leaving consumers struggling with the historically high cost of putting dinner on the table. CBN's Lorie shows us there are a few ways to save.
Today's average U.S. family with kids spends at least $1,300 a month at the grocery store, a sharp increase over the last few years.
It used to be you get a loaf of bread for $2, and now it's like $5 for a loaf of wheat bread.
Usually I used to buy like my cans of beans and like that for 49 cents. Now they're almost $1 each.
Eggs, milk, stuff like your necessities have gone up.
The Consumer Price Index shows a slight increase recently on top of a red-hot spike in 2021 and 2022.
The price of food at home is actually up just 1.3%, which that really shows that the food prices that are most important to us are simmering.
The news offers little comfort to consumers still struggling with inflation from recent years.
Give some financial hardship for the family.
As well as what's known as shrinkflation.
They cut down on the size, but they raised the price. It's high robbery.
Still, experts say there are lots of ways to save.
Believe it or not, a lot of us can save hundreds of dollars by eating the food we already bought. A lot of us don't realize how much we have in the pantry, refrigerator, and freezer. While we're eating all of that, we don't need to go to the grocery.
It's tips like these that Tiffany Terzak feels called by God to share on her blog, Don't Waste the Crumbs.
Scripture says that every Christian at conversion is given a set of gifts. And I believe, and it's going to sound funny, but I think one of my gifts is efficiency.
Terzak teaches a grocery budget boot camp to help others slash their spending.
The vast majority of my students save on average $300 before the course is over.
She recommends paying attention to sales cycles and stocking up when foods are marked down.
So it's anywhere from 10 to 12 weeks.
For example, the grocery marked down these protein bars $1.50 per box. Buying 10 boxes saves $15. Terzak says while packaged foods are okay, it's generally cheaper to cook from scratch.
My homemade mayonnaise, which sounds very elusive, but it's ready in 2 minutes, tastes so much better than anything you could buy at the store, and it's like $1 to make versus many dollars at the grocery store.
It's also usually less expensive to avoid single-serving foods and instead buy in bulk, then separate yourself. And Terzak teaches her students to comparison shop for specific items at different grocery stores and stick to buying only food at the grocery store.
9 times out of 10, you're going to find a better deal on typical household items related to the kitchen, but that are not food, somewhere else other than the grocery store.
So while food prices may continue to climb, shoppers can find ways to minimize the pain and keep their budgets in line. Lorie Johnson, CBN News.
Thanks, Lorie, for the helpful savings ideas. Gordon?
We need them. Last time I went grocery shopping, just this past weekend, it was sticker shock. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. It added up to that number. I remember years ago, my father going to the grocery store. He didn't go as often as I do. But he went and he saw the price of apples, and he was used to, he grew up in the Shenandoah Valley, so they had lots of apples. They were remarkably cheap. And he saw the price and he said, you got to be kidding. So the next day he went out and bought some apple trees. We've got to economize. It looks like inflation is here. It's down. It's in the 3 to 3.5%, but it's still there. And where it's hurting most is in our food budgets. So do whatever you can to economize, because it's the unfortunate news. The wages aren't going up right now.